Hello, everybody. I'm Camille Brannon with Camille and Brannon,
And I'm Whit.
and we are so glad that some of you were able to join us this morning in our first virtual town hall meeting. Our goal in these meetings is to provide you with content that will help you contemplate how to position yourself better in this very abnormal pandemic that we're in and for thereafter. So we had some takeaways this morning. As you probably know, if you watched it, our speaker, Rajeev Dhawan, requested that we not do any recording. So we cannot present a recording to you, but we thought we would enlighten you with what some of our takeaways were from his discussion.
We were happy to report a little data for you guys before Rajeev spoke this morning of what we're seeing in the market here. And of course, as you all are probably experiencing, we are busy now. While we were all down in April and May, we're happy that average sales prices are up 3% year to date. Pending sales here at Camille and Brannon, I'll tell you, inside the perimeter between 250,000 and 750,000, we're actually significantly up over 2019. Over 750,000, we're about equal to where we were in 2019. And these are for sales that have appended in our office, files that have opened after Memorial Day. Outside the perimeter, between 250,000 up to 1,250,000, also significantly up over 2019. So what we're seeing there is the spring market really has pushed to summer, and we're still having that healthy summer activity. So we're expecting a strong summer, and we're also kind of seeing signs that maybe there is some movement to the suburban market over the urban, but we really think that a lot of that is driven by just a lack of inventory inside the perimeter, which is one of the takeaways that we'll speak to from the talking point. So Camille, why don't we dive into the things that Rajeev kind of enlightened us and what we gathered from that?
So one of the things is that this recession that we're currently in was absolutely caused by biology and not by economics. Unlike the previous recession of 2008, the housing bubble and all of the things that went along with the housing bubble set the stage for the recession that existed. We did not have a housing bubble in Atlanta in particular, and as a result, we don't expect to see the house prices drop like we did in the recession. There's demand and there was not overbuilding. So in the previous recession, we overbuilt. We had too many houses for the people that were able to buy them, and we have too few houses. And I guess that's what you're all feeling now. The good thing is that we have too few houses, so there's not enough inventory for you to buy. The good thing with that means that your houses are going to retain their value, if not increase in value, because there's just not enough of that. There's not enough new houses or houses to have.
I loved hearing that because I feel like everyone's perception of what a recession was is based off the last recession, which was driven by a housing issue and overbuilding, which is not what we're having here. Not expected to have a correction in housing prices because of that lack of home supply. Also not expected to have inflation, which was even a little bit of a surprise to me. We're not expected to see that in the next couple of years here.
And we are also expecting to have pretty steady interest rates. So it may get to 4.5%, but really 4.5% over the next couple of years. Still, 4.5% is darn low. And we're in a great interest rate environment right now, and it's probably going to stay there for a while.
One thing that, of course, we all know is that how the rebound and just when I say we're back and better than ever will be tied to when there's a vaccine. We're going to have continued growth in 2021 from the lows that we experienced in March in the economy, and then we'll be back and better than ever in 2022. So we're going to have that steady growth and probably then a spike as soon as either we reach 2022 in the first quarter, or if there's a vaccine, that will pull back and will spike up sooner. So definite growth over the next few months. that spike and we're just really jamming and doing incredible is the sooner of the vaccine, or probably that first quarter of 2022.
Yeah, so that's the important thing. Really, so much of our recovery and the magnitude of the recovery is dependent upon the vaccine, and when people are really comfortable getting back out again and not fearful of whatever the effects are of this virus. So that was a real takeaway. And unfortunately, even the best forecaster in the world does not know when the virus is going to have a suitable vaccine against it. So
one of the things that Rajeev talked about was the lack of the churn in the market. And he spoke to the lack of churn in that we're probably not going to have corporate executives relocating to Atlanta during this time period. We're probably not going to have corporations doing major time period prior to the vaccine. But it kind of reminded me of a conversation I've had with a lot of you. We're not seeing the natural churn that we see in our market that happens through open houses, through caravans, through networking amongst your fellow agents in the market, because we're just not seeing one another, those social gatherings. So, I take from that, call your people that you interact with, call the agents that are the top producers that are your peers in the market, and you're going to have to probably search for that listing for your buyer that's looking. There are people that want to sell, but just because of constraints related to COVID, where they can't get the house quite in order to have it listed and have those photographs taken, doesn't mean there's probably not some inventory out there that could be sold. So if I looked at my Facebook last night, I can't tell you how many people that were posting, I'm looking for this and we can't find what we're looking for. So there is the demand out there. We've just got to create the networks with one another because they're not getting to market and listed as much as they were.
So that I would encourage you, because there's not this corporate movement there typically is that causes these people to move from one market to another or one house to another. You really are going to have to encourage your sellers that now's the time for them to sell, that they are absolutely going to have a buyer in this market. It doesn't even have to be perfect. You can use that network to create a desire for them to go see the property. So get your sellers to sell. I think that is a huge takeaway. You need to go and create your own churn, because the corporate movement's not creating the churn, and your network is not creating the churn because you're not able to participate in your network. So do those things that can work around that, and that is talk your sellers into buying and talk to all of the agents in your market about what you've got, what your needs are, not just in your brokerage, but in your market. So make your needs known.
And one thing that Rajeev talked on was, in the past, we would qualify a buyer and we'd have a pre-qualification letter, but we're seeing lenders ask another question, and that is, what industry is this buyer in? So if you've got a listing that's coming up and you've got multiple offers, think about when the pre-qualification letter was written. Was this written before COVID? And maybe the lender will overlay some additional requirements now. Think about your buyers. What industry are they in? Read up on what's going on in their world. We of course know that hospitality and restaurant are impacted, but we are seeing some other industries impacted. People are putting off some elective surgeries. So be in tune with what your client's job is and kind of their expectations. The same for your listings. If you sold, you're working your network of people that you've sold to in the past, think about calling not only those folks that are in hospitality that may, be needing to make a change, but also people that are in healthcare even, that maybe they're not as busy because of elective surgeries, and maybe they've decided, hey, I'm going to retire early and want to sell my house and move to the beach. There's opportunity out there if we're in tune with knowing our clients and really just being proactive and reaching out to them.
Particularly those in the travel industry and anybody related to the airport in Atlanta. We know that travel has been heavily restricted during the pandemic. And so that's bound to inspire some people to retire early and think about what their next move is going to be. So definitely reach out to those people that you might have relationships with. Just your call alone may inspire them to make a move that convinces them that all the stars have aligned and it's time for them to make that move. So it's hard to be motivated, I get it, but look at the industries that each of your sphere of influence, look at the industries they're in, their specific industries, and see if there might be something going on in that industry that would inspire that person to make a move, whether it be to buy something or to sell something, to the point where the airport is a huge driver of a lot of our biggest employer, Delta. So is Home Depot, and a lot of people in Home Depot is having a great year. So there are a lot of things that are going on in Atlanta that could motivate a person to make a move, and your reaching out could be that thing that makes them make that decision. So get your list.
Yeah, we're uniquely positioned in Atlanta. Delta, the largest employer, but Emory Hospital, number 2, I believe. Home Depot, number 3. A lot of other hospitals rounding out the top 10, along with Kroger and Publix, which are, along with a liquor store, they're doing incredible. So
right. If you've got your liquor store owners, reach out to them. They're probably going to move it on up. There's just so many unique factors that you should look at your client base and reach out to those people in particular to see if you can make something happen. I think what one of our takeaways was, until there's a whole lot of corporate activity, which there's not likely to be until we have some type of either treatment or vaccine, we are going to have to make some activity happen, because these people are not going to move.
And to that end, we're seeing an uptick in first-time home buyer activity, and it makes sense. The folks that are living in their apartment, they're not having to have folks come in their home to move. They're just able to go out there and find the perfect home and buy it, and not have to sell something. A prime opportunity to connect with those people too. I think we'll leave you with create the churn. We're missing that opportunity to have what we normally do with social interactions at caravans and open houses and just social events that we're all part of. But the demand is still very much out there. Our numbers are higher than they were actually in 2019 for activity, again down from April and May, but back up in June. So we're confident that we're going to have a great summer market, and we're going to have that continued growth and climbing out of the lows in March. And we're really looking forward to seeing you guys again in person, most importantly, but virtually until then.
Thanks very much. Let us know if you have any questions, and let us know what other topics you might be interested. I know that everybody is kind of sick of talking about the virus, so we won't bring you the Dr. Fauci type enlightenment, because you get enough of that. We want to bring you something that's unique, that will help you be better at what you do now and in the future. So we'll see you soon, I hope.
Take care.